Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Hello and welcome to UTI Mutual Fund and CNBC TV 18 presents Financial Advisor Forums 2014-15. I am Malvika Jain, and these forums, as you know, were instituted to recognize financial advisors like you who have tirelessly worked for wealth maximization and wealth creation through sustained investment advisory and planning. Today, through our ground forums in the city of Jaipur, we are going to be interacting with eminent panelists and exchanging ideas with financial advisors on how to take this industry forward. I am now joined by Leo Puri, Managing Director of UTI Asset Management Company, Dhirendra Kumar, CEO, Value Research Online, Himanshu Kohli, Founder, Partner, Client Associates, and Ashish Modani, Proprietor of SLA Investment Center. Well, Leo, my first question is for you. Since the new government took charge last year, we have seen the manner in which it has reached out to investors. It has communicated the message at the least that it means business. It is here to support business. It is here to support investments. It is here to support growth. What sort of an impact do you think this is having on the mutual fund industry in particular? Because as far as the sentiment goes for the overall market, there seems to be an uptrend.
As you say, you have a government that is determined at least to improve spirits, animal spirits, sentiment, and is trying to communicate that the ease of doing business is going to be its major theme. We have yet to see the full impact of that on the ground, and industry is anxiously waiting to see the impact of that play out. But that message seems to have got through to both foreign and domestic investors. And against that backdrop, there's a very high probability now that you will see investment formation, capital formation restart in the economy by the middle of the year. So the markets are essentially taking the view that we are probably fairly early in a 4 or 5 year strong secular upturn in the markets. This will make us probably one of the most attractive places in the world to invest.
Ashish, what has been your experience? How do you feel that in the present environment, particularly in the past 6 to 8 months, how are things looking to you?
See, definitely there is a positive sentiment, but I think so role of an advisor comes as a moderator. Aam Aadmi has started speaking about that markets are looking good, and now they are getting overly bullish, whereas they need to really understand that markets, being markets, can actually do anything. So as an advisor, role is basically to moderate things. Sentiments are definitely good. India has been a great country to do make investments. So right now, when the risk pressure is absolutely not there, so one has to be really cautious that they still follow their goals rather than follow the markets.
In today's digital environment, when we are talking about digitization of pretty much everything, technology is playing a critical role. In that scenario, does the financial advisor even remain relevant?
Financial advisor actually remain very relevant because it is such a diverse country. So many investors need to be initiated. There is complete lack of understanding about any market-linked investment. Indian investors have been historically well off till about 15 years back with their fixed income return, because they were inflation-adjusted positive return.
Right.
No longer. So investors don't have a choice. You actually lose money by putting your money in fixed income, which you are comfortable with. And that is a big psychological, alignment that has to be taken care of by the advisor. One thing which I feel is going to be a lasting, enduring thing for advisors is trust. Technology cannot substitute that.
In your experience, what is the psyche of a typical investor?
When an investor manages their own money, there's a lot of emotion which is involved in that decision. So, if you ask me, there are two trends which are shaping up. One, which was the case beyond their businesses, beyond their professions, if they have to invest anything, they will buy property as an asset class, and that is something which they have been extremely successful. Second, as I mentioned, investors were emotional with their money, so they always believed we are buying the best asset class. So if an asset class does very well in a particular year, next year they will go and buy it. So today, investors are realizing the importance of having a discipline, having a discipline of asset allocation. Have a strategy in place. This is where I am, this is where I would like to be, these are my goals. How can I meet those goals in a more comfortable manner? And asset allocation brings in that discipline.
Ashish, are there any experiences that you can share where you managed to win somebody's trust who was not even willing to invest in the first place?
My experiences with youngsters is, forget about investing, they don't even believe in saving. Right? For saving, for them is a taboo where when they sit around with their friends, they sit around with their colleagues, what they like to discuss is where are they going for a party tonight, or what brands are they going to wear, and places they're going to visit, what mobiles are they going to use. But when it comes about saving, the saving is not there in their DNA. I just recently had a word with a 25-year-old guy. He earns around close to 50,000 rupees a month. So now where do you spend money? So all he was able to say that, I don't know. Now that's the precise point that he spends, he doesn't know where he spends. And as an advisor and we are more of a counselor to people, we say, there is a need which is going to hit you tomorrow. And if you plan it accordingly, there are many wants that you can also accomplish over a period of time. So advisor role is basically to make it much simpler, and there's a lot of counseling needs to be done.
Well, you're watching UTI Mutual Fund and CNBC TV 18 presents Financial Advisor Forum 2014-15. We're going to be back soon after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching UTI Mutual Fund and CNBC TV 18 presents Financial Advisor Forum 2014-15. When it comes to trends, do you think that, is this something that one can generalize, or is it something that's probably more representative of a city like Jaipur?
What investors need is, first they need to get started, they need to save, then they need to really demarcate between what his long-term saving is and what his short-term saving is, and get onto a plan. Recently, I came across a survey. They were trying to find out who were the people who have made most money from those investments. The first bunch of investors were the people, on finding further, they discovered that those people were dead. The second bunch were the people, who had forgotten about their investment. So the market is structured in a manner that we say the opposite in our behavior. We say that this is the opportunity, this is what to go about, how to go about it, this is how I'll actually, that should not be the starting point.
So I guess the point in a nutshell is that awareness is critical, and that's something that investors are lacking, and communicating that is something that is job of the advisors, and they need to take more initiative to do that.
Just like to add a point here, with now that there is a Modi euphoria being there, I humbly ask people, what if something were to go wrong tomorrow to Modi? Will people stop investing? Are people investing in next 3 years or 4 years because Modi is going to be here? So let's not have Modi being the reason for you to save, or next 3-4 years being the reason for you to save. The saving should be for what really you want to do it. You want to do it for retirement, just start planning about it.
Well, Leo, would you categorize the present environment as Modi euphoria, or is it something beyond that?
I think it's much more than that. I think you actually have India at a point that, in a way, regardless of the government that was in power, would be probably the best positioned large economy in the world to drive global growth for the next decade. We are at a point in our investment cycle, as I said earlier, where we have much more upside than any other country to rebuild our infrastructure, create new assets, and that itself could actually fuel us for the next decade or two. I think the Modi factor here is simply a shorthand for saying, if we had good governance as well, all of this could happen quicker and with more certainty. And to me, that is what Modi is shorthand for. It's a promise of saying, I can hopefully bring the promise of governance to this country and thereby improve the certainty of the outcome. We should be proud as an industry of the product we sell. And I do sense amongst the advisor community at this point a little bit of a sense of dread that maybe this is a community under threat because of a combination of technology, regulation, and those two forces are in a sense going to squeeze advisors out of business. I honestly don't think that's true. But what is going to be required is to redefine yourself in the current context. The role of the advisor is not just to sell the product. It is fundamentally to stay engaged through the life cycle of wealth creation, wealth preservation. There will be a very positive and growing role for this community along the lines that I've described.
What should motivate an investor to actually continue to pay a fee when he's losing out on money? Himanshu, if you'd like to take that question.
If we position this space more as a service rather than a product, I think financial advisors will retain their importance and returns take a back seat. Returns are something which even document says they cannot be promised, they cannot be assured. They would be just a byproduct. Idea is to take good decisions, offer a service, offer a holistic approach, and then returns would be a very small subset of the entire scheme of things.
You know, you go to a doctor or a lawyer when you are in trouble. Here you are actually being well off, and that is when you need an advisor, and you don't feel the need for it. So, you know, your first task is to hold his hand, get him initiated, win his confidence so that he thinks that, yes, you are relevant for all times to come. Cracking it is difficult. We don't have a precedence. There was no need for advisor.
I disagree with you. We started 13 years back, and very first day, we said we should be charging our clients. We do charge fees to our clients also. So that is something which we started on this basis, that we should add value to our clients. We should have the conviction if we are adding value, clients would pay for it.
No, but 10 years back, the product itself had embedded cost to be paid to you. So, you know, it was actually double charging the customers. You know, it was little ahead of time in terms of, you know, because the fund companies will pay you, and if you charge your customer, your cost was actually embedded in the product itself.
Would you have any strategies for acquiring customers and retaining them?
So the way we acquire our clients, it's only through word of mouth. So what we try and do is we try and do a good job, provide good service to our existing clients. We don't advertise. I think our customers becomes the brand ambassadors of our own services, and they refer us to their friends and families.
Ashish, there's something that you wanted to say.
The role of an advisor is not supposed to be too very intelligent. As Warren Buffett says, is that what I all try to do is to avoid mistakes. So as an advisor, the role basically is not to really make intelligent decisions for them, but to make sure that they don't make mistakes. If they don't make mistakes, they'll actually end up making money. They'll end up acquiring whatever that they want to achieve in their life.
I don't think there can be a better opportunity in terms of timing, in terms of outlook. I don't think, you know, you can wait for anything else. Just get started with some convictions, some rules for yourself. I think these are going to be the finest 20 years for investors and advisors too.
We will continue this conversation at UTI Mutual Fund, and CNBC TV 18 presents Financial Advisor Forum 2014-15 in the city of Jaipur. Don't go away. Well, here in the city of Jaipur, we are in conversation with eminent panelists at the UTI Mutual Fund, and CNBC TV 18 presents Financial Advisor Forum 2014-15. Welcome back. Would regulation follow the industry, or would the industry have to eventually give in to regulatory framework that it operates in?
I would say any profession which starts, over a period of time, to make it more sophisticated, everything needs to work. So regulators need to play their own roles. Industry, manufacturer needs to play their own role. Advisors need to play their own role. So everyone will have to understand what the role is. And over a period of time, I would say regulations would also keep in mind what is best for investors also. So regulators would keep those things in mind, and maybe come out with models which works best from the investor's point of view.
Well, my last question to you would be around the e-new fund offer from UTI, which did pretty well. What is it actually that worked for your company?
I think largely the trust and loyalty that we have with the advisor community. I think that certainly played an important role. But ultimately, I think it demonstrated to us that the advisor community is not an endangered species. If it basically evolves along with the market towards essentially understanding that we are in a world of more disclosure and transparency, where value has to be articulated in a context that today's customers can understand, there's a very important role to be played because it brings participation, as I said, and it will involve the long-term continuity and hand-holding, which all of us as households need if we are actually to build and preserve wealth. So to us, I think it was a demonstration of how important the IFA community is and will be actually to our continuing success as a fund house.
Well, it emanates from this discussion that financial advisors are not an endangered species. All that they have to keep in mind is to think long term, keep the interest of the investor in mind, keep their goals in mind, and to follow a very moderated advisory model. With that, we are now going to be taking questions from the audience. The first question that I have is from Rakesh Kumar Sharma. He wants to know, with the market showing good returns, how can we manage the investor's expectation from historical returns and have a sustainable lifelong relationship?
There are three things which impact the markets: momentum, liquidity, and fundamentals. Mr. Modi has done a very good job in terms of creating that hope whereby that momentum has been created. But most important, in the long term is fundamentals, because sentiment and liquidity even out over a period of time. So we need to see, are the markets in a fundamentally expensive zone, not that expensive zone, and that is how we should actually take the decisions. And if one asset class has done very well, maybe it's a time to rebalance with my fresh inflows. So I think that discipline is the most important thing.
If you want to serve your customer so that he becomes your customer for a lifetime, then you have to really compromise on revenue. I come across a lot of situations where somebody has 50 lakh rupees. You know, people buy everything in installment, but when it comes to investment, they invest lump sum. I generally tell people that spread your investment in a time frame which is half as much it has taken for you to accumulate it. If you have saved 5 lakh rupees in 2 years, then invest that 2 lakh rupees, that amount in next 1 year. So very simple things to do. Devise your principles and drive your investors in that.
The next question that we are going to be taking is from Prakash Maldhani. He wants to know, how is the penetration and growth in B15 cities? Is the B15 incentivization justifying business growth?
I think the way India is developing is that it will develop in the next 100 cities. It's not going to now continue to develop just in Bombay, Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, and so on. We all know that. And I think that's a natural process. The same has happened in China. Urbanization will continue. So you will see the next 100, 150 cities develop in the next decade. So without a doubt, a lot of the growth is going to happen in the so-called B15 or outside of the top 5 and 10. So as a fund house, or indeed as a government in terms of policy, I want to encourage that. And I must encourage that. It's good for the country to encourage that. On the second part, how much of an incentive do you need? How long is that justified? In general, I think it is very logical to have incentives provided when there's a clear policy benefit, as there is in actually deepening penetration. So it was a right decision, and I would strongly support it, to provide some differential incentive.
The next question that we have is from Jayashree Sacheti. She wants to know, with the equity market having rallied up and interest rates going down, both the markets look good. What should be the ideal asset allocation at this point of time?
See, that's the precise problem this industry has. We go with a preset notion that this is what we're going to offer to the client. Let's forget it. Go with an absolutely blank mind, sit with them, talk with them, what they need. I think so that is where we'll move on from a product distributor to a financial advisor. So there is nothing called preset, aaj kya acha hai.
Look at their existing assets, future cash flows. And this gives the balance sheet of any client. Present value of that balance sheet, put on the risk profile, and then come to an asset allocation approach. There's a scientific way to arrive at this. And that is something which is, I would say, the best way to offer an asset allocation.
Well, we have completely run out of time, but it is clear from today's panel discussion that financial advisors need to think long-term. They need to win over the trust and build confidence of the investors while keeping the investors' priorities and objectives in mind. With that, it's a wrap on this show. Thank you for watching.
Presenting sponsor UTI Mutual Fund. हक एक बेहतर जिंदगी का. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully. Powered by ICRA.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.